Okay, this is the Vegas Kids Zone, actually Las Vegas Homeschooling Support Facebook group, live.
It's a mouthful.
I know. We just changed the name of the group last week to be a little more true to what we're about. And we are about helping our homeschool community as well as the distance learning parents who we're getting a lot more questions from. And a lot of the questions I'm getting, Sarah and I talked about this morning, is accredited programs. In Nevada, I'm going to let Sarah take this because I get confused. You don't need an accredited program. Now, if you're in 8th grade or like 7th grade or whatever, and you're thinking later I want to go to high school, should they use an accredited program, Sarah?
They can do whatever they want to. They don't have to use an accredited program. There's just a difference between having to do something and choosing to do something. If you feel more comfortable using an accredited program, you can. If you don't want to spend the money to do it, you don't have to. And I'll just say you have to, but you really don't have to. But to make your life easier, if you're going to go back into CCSD, and I'm talking specifically about CCSD, you're going to go back into CCSD for high school, your 9th grade year, it's very important to use an accredited program because CCSD does not evaluate unaccredited courses. So if you bring in, hey, my kid did 9th grade and they did everything, you even followed like what CCSD 9th graders would be doing. If you don't use an accredited program, they'll say, sorry, we're not awarding credit for that. Is that an insurmountable challenge? No, because we did it in my family, and I'm happy to help anyone who has that very, very, very specific question about how can I get my credit deficient 9th grader up to snuff for CCSD. But to make your life easier as a homeschooler, if you think at any point I'm going to go into CCSD high school, you should, to make your life easier, I'll just keep saying that, you should use an accredited program. And there's tons of them. And you can find whatever you need. And you will most likely, I'm fairly confident that you will have to pay for an accredited program.
I have 2 other questions then. Does CCSD have specific accredited programs they prefer or only? Yeah,
they have a list on their site. You can click, there's a link on the homeschool page on CCSD site. I don't know that they prefer those, and I don't know that they are promoting them. More than likely somebody did a Google search and these are the first 8 accredited programs that popped up. We should probably have CCSD homeschool office on here sometime. We can really ask some questions.
Is there anyone in the office? No, that's right.
So yeah, that's the answer to that.
Okay, and then is there a free accredited program?
I haven't.
I've been looking for people.
I don't think there is. And I think that's what you're paying for, is for somebody. Programs are okay. Specific programs are accredited by organizations. It's all super complicated and just like layers of stuff that makes things more difficult. And so when you're choosing a program, you can look at it and say, oh, okay, we're accredited by North Central Independent Schools, or we're accredited by Middle States, blah, blah, blah. If a program is accredited, it'll say it. And you will have to shop around for a budget and for what's going to work. And yeah.
Is that one you mentioned last week? I want to say Laurel. What was that?
Laurel Springs. That's basic. Yeah, that's accredited, but it's, I think their tagline is even something like, we're a private online school. So it's going to be private school prices. Not $15,000, but
yeah,
I think it's $5,000.
I will do more research on this for the parents who had asked and who couldn't be here. And I will put up a post either today or tomorrow about accredited programs, average price, that sort of thing. And I'll try to get into CCSD and get them to talk to us a little bit, give us some quotes for it as well.
Well, and the thing is just the last point about it is up through K through 8th grade, accredited is absolutely not required. not necessary. And if you get information that is contradictory to that, then you need to fight it, because the law does not require that.
I love what you said today. See if I can pull it up. Because even as a homeschool mom, my kids are 10, but, and you're like, basically they have no right to tell you.
Oh no, you're not asking for permission to homeschool.
Right.
You're letting them know.
But when I was a new homeschooler, I truly thought I had to ask permission. And when they sent me the letter, the NOI, like, we got your NOI, I was just so relieved. Now I feel ridiculous. Not ridiculous, but it was like, okay. Yeah, I didn't need to worry so much. And then, my education plan, I spent 2 days on that thing.
I'm going to go over here on my computer and see what's clicking.
Yeah, mine's not coming up. Where is it? You said, where did you say? Oh, I can't find it now. But what you said something about Nevada Leadership Academy as well. The Nevada Leadership Academy was a good one to use if you're a CCSD student.
There are high schools that will evaluate your homeschool credit because they're smaller, they're less of a monolith, they're less, they can have some freedom and some flexibility to look into what you did and see if they would be able to award credit for what you did in a 9th grade homeschool year. And that's going to be, and again, parents of homeschooled kids have got to learn to advocate for themselves and for their kids. And you have to ask for what you want, and you have to know what you're trying to get. So you just can't assume anything. You have to talk to probably the registrar of the school and say, hey, this is what we did for 9th grade. Would you be able to evaluate it for credit? And then you will have to turn in whatever they ask for, samples, tests, whatever. But that's going to be your smaller schools, your schools that have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more flexibility, private schools, maybe charters. I don't know enough about charters to say for sure, because I think they follow a lot of lockstep with CCSD, especially the larger ones. But you can always ask. You can always just ask and say, hey, I have this child. This is the work we've done. Would you be able to evaluate it for credit? Anyway, a Nevada Leadership Academy, or that was Leadership Academy of Nevada. I don't know.
I think it's Nevada. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that they were, people were successful there before with getting credit transferred. But again, charters change all the time. So you don't know, you have to, and anything you get, make sure you get it in writing. That would be my suggestion.
We have something in the chat here. We have a new homeschool mom wanted to homeschool kindergarten, which is awesome. That is such a fun age. The school says that if I want to enroll my child the following year, I must provide a report card through a homeschool network program. That's incorrect. So you don't even have to.
Well, be careful. This is one of these unnecessarily complicated situations. Kindergarten is not required. Required in some districts, not required in others, something, I don't know.
Nevada, is it required?
I don't know that it's Nevada. It's something about, it's not Nevada, it's not required in Nevada, but it's required in CCSD.
Okay.
So if your plan is to enroll in CCSD, which let's just, that's what we're going to talk about right now, right? CCSD. If your plan is to enroll in 1st grade in CCSD, you should submit a notice of intent to homeschool for kindergarten. Is that the question though? I don't see it in the chat, so. Oh,
it looks like it's private. But the school's saying she has to provide a report card through a homeschool network program.
Well, but what are they asking for? They don't even know what they're asking for.
Right. I don't know what a homeschool network program is.
That's not a thing.
And that's actually why I started Vegas Kid Zone in the first place, because when I was starting, I was so clueless and nervous that I was going to make a mistake or go, mess up my kids' education. So I thought, and for me, writing about it gets me out of the weeds. So I was completely overwhelmed. And so breaking it down and talking to other people really helped me. So I'm really glad you asked this question, Rihanna.
It's a hard question to answer without knowing what exactly the school is asking for and what is. So she is trying to, she homeschooled her child for kindergarten in another state.
No, she doesn't have a mic. So she wants to homeschool her child through kindergarten now. So she wants to, and so she called the school that she, I'm assuming, wants to go to, and said, okay, I'm going to homeschool for kindergarten, but I'd like to go next year. And they're like, okay, well, we need a report card through a homeschool network program.
They're wrong.
Oh, she said she called 3 schools. Or a letter of completion of kinder. Who would give her a letter of completion for kindergarten?
You know who's going to give her a letter of completion? The parent. She's the parent. And if you homeschool kindergarten, you are in charge of your child's education. You're the administrator, the principal, the teacher, you're all of it. And you will provide them a kindergarten, whatever they ask for, a report card. They asked me for a report card, and I Googled homeschool report card, filled in all A's for my child, put her name on it, and that was it. It's just about establishing that paper trail. But if your intent is to go to first grade in CCSD, you have to submit that notice of intent. You normally would not have to submit the notice of intent until age 7. But if you're going to go into first grade, you need to have that paperwork. That's going to be your documentation. There's nothing else outside of submitting the notice of intent and educational plan. And then when you go to first grade, bringing your homeschool report card, which is, we did kindergarten, he or she did awesome, all A's, fantastic. That's it. Does that help with the?
She says she's filing the NOI today. I also have something on the website I just put up. You don't really need a portfolio in Nevada or in Las Vegas or CCSD, I guess I should say, in our school district. But creating a portfolio is honestly like a little scrapbook. Like, this is what we did. And it's a sweet way to keep all the stuff you did as well. But you can take that portfolio and just file all the artwork or all the, the adding and subtracting or whatever, all the worksheets you did, and put them in honestly, a photo album, or just get the sheet protectors and put them in and slide them in there and put them in a binder. And if they ask, you have something to present them that they cannot reject.
They can't evaluate it. They can ask for it, and you can refuse. There's nowhere in the homeschool law that says we have to provide them with a portfolio of work. So, minimal compliance. I'm an advocate for minimal compliance, because if you start showing up with all of this stuff, then they're going to ask for it for everybody, and it's a barrier to homeschooling, which is not necessary. So right now, as the law says, if you're going to come back in for kindergarten, you just have to have a report card, and you are the director of your homeschool, so you will provide the report card. Or if they call it a transcript or whatever. And always assume when you're going into the school office that they don't know the homeschool laws, because they don't.
No.
So, if you know the homeschool laws and are confident in what you need to provide, you're fine.
For instance, when we left, we sort of did it on the fly. I was sitting in an IEP meeting realizing that this was just not working, and the kids had been wanting to homeschool, even came to us with a little presentation, and so they were the ones who dragged us into homeschooling a bit. And so we just left, and they said, you can't, you have to talk to the principal, we have to have an exit interview, we have to do this, that, and the other. And I had been to the introduction to homeschooling class and realized, no, I didn't. But they were adamant, like, you can't. And I knew as a parent, but I was still so nervous. And I'm like, I even said, I'm sorry, but no, no, I'm leaving.
Apologize.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But because honestly, the principal scared me a little bit. It's the principal. I've been called to the principal's office. And I'll admit it, because I was embarrassed to even think that. But I think a lot of parents do feel that way. Like, do I need the principal's permission to, and you don't. And she actually has another question here that it's pretty good. Do they have a right to retain my child even if she can pass the testing? So I'm believing what she's saying is, and she says very intimidating. She goes next year and says, okay, we did homeschool at kindergarten. we homeschooled last year, we want to go to first grade now. Well, can they say, no, you have to start in kindergarten, is her question, I believe.
I mean, I think I haven't heard of, I've heard of very isolated incidences where they will try that, but the majority of what I've heard is that they will do an age appropriate classroom.
Right.
So for first grade, that would be what, 6 or 7 years old. Yeah. So if most of the kids are 6 or 7, then yeah, it shouldn't be an issue. And my story is, I put my daughter who's going into 4th grade, I put her older kids were going to public school. She decided she wanted to go too. So I enrolled her in elementary school, and she was going into 2nd grade, and she was 7, and they asked me for report cards for kindergarten and first. So I did those, and that was it. She wasn't tested. It was just, she's in 2nd grade. She's the right age for this classroom. And it may be different for a child with some learning challenges, or maybe an ESL learner or something like that. Very, very specific situations might change that. But if you file that notice of intent and have the educational plan and the notice of intent on file, and then provide the kindergarten, it says right in the law that you can complete a homeschool kindergarten program. So as long as you have that, then it shouldn't be an issue. I want to ask, is she homeschooling for kindergarten because of COVID, or homeschooling for kindergarten just because she doesn't want to do, doesn't want to, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I can't see the chat.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Okay.
So yeah, Rihanna, have you always kind of wanted to homeschool? Because even when I sent my kids to kindergarten, I looked into homeschooling. I've always kind of wanted to do it. So when the kids came to us, it was sort of already laid in there. So it wasn't too hard of a transition, although yeah, I was scared. And I also found a lot of the questions I'm getting are fear-based. Parents are afraid of the school system. They're afraid they'll do it wrong and someone's going to come knocking on their door.
You guys,
or they're going to hurt their child.
They don't have time to, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I know, whereas as homeschoolers, we're always like, oh my gosh, am I doing this right? And what's going to happen? And the school district has got bigger fish to fry than, and this year is going to be different because there's a lot of people that are saying they're homeschooling that aren't homeschooling, that are homeschooling and aren't filling out the right paperwork. You know what I mean? There's going to be more of that, but trust me when I say they have bigger fish to fry. Know your laws, know what the law requires and what it does not require. And, don't be afraid to ask for somebody with a little bit more of an assertive personality.
Which is why I like having you on here. So yeah, and then like we were talking about count day last time, and I thought that was really interesting, and a lot more parents need to understand that if you are homeschooling just for the year because of COVID, and then you go back next year, that's going to truly affect the funding.
Well, just because the funding formula is ridiculous, just because it doesn't make any sense, and it's just not a way to operate that's efficient or appropriate, but it is what it is, and they're not going to change it now. So yeah, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but there's a day or an average or something where they count everybody in the school, and then your funding for next year is based on that, which if you think about that makes like the least amount of sense possible, right?
Yeah. We left after count day and that was even funny because they even said, oh, it's okay, count day's already happened, so see ya. I'm like, thanks.
No, that's what it is. And it's it doesn't make a ton of sense, but not enough parents are talking to our legislators and saying, this doesn't make sense, right? The way you're doing this doesn't make sense. So, but yeah, it would be, if you are thinking that you don't know how CCSD distance learning is going to go, and I have two high schoolers who are going to be doing distance learning, and we're going to do the first couple of weeks, and then we're going to reevaluate, because the schedule they sent out is not there. The promise was, we're not going to try to make distance, we're not going to try to recreate a school classroom in distance education, because that doesn't work. That doesn't make sense. And that's exactly what they've done, is, you know, sent out 80-minute long class periods, you know, with the 10-minute break in between, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So we're going to evaluate it, and then we'll stay till count day so the district can have the money. You know, our hands are tied, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's what's important, is if people are thinking that they're not going, if they don't know that they're gonna try to go back to CCSD, I would say don't start homeschooling from the beginning. And I don't like to say that, but that's true. If you have any idea that you're not going to stay with homeschooling, you should enroll in CCSD and stay through that count day.
A lot of parents too are saying, okay, I'm going to stay with CCSD for a little bit. Let's just see how this distance learning is really going to play out. And at the same time, sort of supplement my kids' education, especially when it comes to math. And I believe I'm going to talk to Miss Lori Beesting here. She is the creator of Bridge the Gap Math. And hi, Lori.
Hi there.
She's giving a 10% off to our subscribers for her lovely book, Bridge the Gap Math. She's an educator, and I'm just going to turn it over to you, Lori, and give us a little info about you.
Sure. I found listening to you talking about the homeschooling system very interesting, because you probably can tell from my accent that I'm from England, and homeschooling isn't a big thing in England, but of course it is now for everybody. And it's been a huge learning curve for a lot of my colleagues who are still mainstream teachers in England. Anyway, so what I thought, if this is helpful, I'm going to give you a little bit about me and why I've ended up creating this special book. And then if it's helpful, I'll give you just a very quick walkthrough of the product. And then if there are any particular questions that people have, I'd be very willing to help, because I've been doing a lot of presenting and speaking with homeschooling groups recently here in Canada, trying to help people who are facing homeschooling their own children when they haven't really voted to do that, if you put it like that. People who, I have worked with homeschooling communities who were homeschooled for a long time, but a lot of people now, like you say, the word fear and anxiety has come in for parents. So very briefly about me, I'm actually a teacher of 20 years from England, and so I worked in mainstream schools teaching the whole curriculum. And then when I decided to emigrate with my husband to Canada in 2011, I started doing private teaching and started to specialize in intermediate math. And what I found was that a lot of parents were anxious about a very specific period in their students' lives, and that period was when students get to 6th grade and the words high school or high school curriculum starts to become part of their thinking, and they realize that they're actually not very well prepared in some of the most important parts of math. And the sort of number one reason why I decided to put together a program was that something didn't exist for those students who were just feeling that they were at an important part of their math development, but felt that they were feeling actually worried and anxious and scared that they weren't ready for oh my goodness, sorry about that, that they weren't ready for the next stage of their curriculum. And a lot of the parents who were coming to me were feeling that they were very, very upset and not knowing how to help their children, because when somebody's in 6th grade or 7th grade and about to start high school, the last thing they want to do is to admit that they are falling behind and that they've got problems. And the dignity side of things was a huge thing. And so I'll introduce the book. It's called Bridge the Gap Math, and one of the big sort of leading points about it was asking the parent if they felt that their child, or asking the student, are you ready for high school math? And some of the students were in 5th grade, 6th grade, who just wanted to firm up core essentials. But the majority of the people who I was working with were just at that level of end of grade 6, beginning grade 7, and realizing that they had gaps. And so basically I decided to put together a program to help me teach the children that I was working with. And this program seemed to be working for a whole group of children. The grade 5 students who just felt that they were starting to fall behind a little bit, and the grade 6 students who were actually starting to feel pretty anxious and their self-esteem was dropping. And certainly for the 7th grade students who were actually feeling, I've given up on myself. And so the book is a collection of just the core essentials from 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, and some from 7th grade. And the intention of it is to get children to high school, at the beginning of high school or homeschooling high school level, with some of what I found to be the common missing parts.
Mm-hmm.
And the timing for the book, it's been unbelievable really, because I found myself in a position where I wrote it because I wanted more parents to be able to have an easy book to use to help their children. But then of course the implications of teaching at home with COVID behind us has made everything more urgent really. And I just feel very passionately that this book can help with the fear side of things. And two of the biggest things that I've had feedback from parents is that the fact that it's got 1 page only per concept, and that it's got the teaching script, it actually tells the parent what to say. So if it's all right, Kimberly, would it be helpful just to have a 2-minute walkthrough of the product? Is that all right?
I think we're going to move on to YMCA real quick.
Yeah.
And because we do need to fit in some, and I know they have to get going.
So
but
any questions, I'll be willing to help.
Yeah, the book is, I've been giving it a look over, and it's nice because it gives confidence to kids with their math skills, but also as a parent. Yeah, when I started homeschooling, I realized that I'm not a teacher. And I struggle, especially with math concepts, how to explain them to them. So this has been very helpful in that respect for me as a parent. So, but we have Amanda and Jess here from the YMCA. Hi. And the other thing that parents are asking about is, okay, we're doing all this distance learning. My kid's going to be sitting in front of a computer for 6 hours a day. How do I keep them active? And also, I believe I think all the sports are canceled. So they are looking for other places to go and get some physical activity. So did you guys want to talk about your programs? I think you have a couple exciting ones coming up.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to go ahead and let Amanda actually start because she can talk about our Homeschool P.E. program. And then we'll bounce back to me, and I'm just going to give a brief rundown on our YCares program that we'll be offering for academic enrichment throughout the fall.
Oh, that's excellent.
Hey, so I'm Amanda Layton. I'm actually the aquatics director, but I originally was what Meredith is now. And a couple years ago, or I guess 18 months ago, we decided that we were really missing out on serving the homeschool community, and that we had this time during the day to fill. And why are we not reaching out to our homeschool community and offering them something? And so we created this Homeschool P.E. program. So Meredith is now in charge of that program, but I will still be there to help and as a point of contact if ever needed, and hopefully we'll just hand on those reins to Meredith. So I'm going to let her talk about that, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of this daytime programming that we have for really the Las Vegas community as a whole, as well as homeschoolers. So go ahead, Meredith.
Okay, so right now we are looking at Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 3, and that's for ages 5 to 12. And then 1 to 2 will be the actual PE class with an instructor. And then from 2 to 3, they can go into like a breakout session. We're going to try to have a dance class, swim team, and swim lessons. Are you doing lessons too?
Yeah, so it's important to note that we'll still have this open swim, right? So people loved that. The kids could, for an hour, get their physical fitness. We really emphasize on the kids having a good time and moving as much as possible. So we don't like to do things where they're having to wait too long for a turn. The goal is to get them all sweaty and tired so that they get all that energy that they may have had to hold in during their morning work. And so what she's talking about is after that hour of PE, we have a lot of 3 o'clock, 2 and 3 o'clock programming for the homeschool community, as well as those who are having to do distance learning through CCSD. And so you'll have the option to do that PE, but then we're going to add enrichment options as well. So talk about some of the enrichment options like ballet.
Yeah, we're going to have ballet.
We talked about, I don't know if Jess knows yet, but I'm hearing that we're having voice lessons. We're doing some theater arts.
Oh, that's excellent.
Oh, wow.
So not only at 2 o'clock can you, can the homeschool community even not do PE and just do that portion, or we can have even the virtual distance kiddos come in as well and have those. What were you going to say, Jess?
Oh, I was saying that there's still some ideas being thrown around. That enrichment piece is definitely still being developed, and we're really encouraging those for the kids who are not participating in the YMCA's distance learning program, but more for those homeschool families or families who are doing distance learning at home, but want to get their kids some interaction with other kids in the meantime. So like Amanda said, we've talked about voice lessons. I'm a photographer, so we've talked about doing a 1-month photography class. And really utilizing our staff skills to kind of bring new opportunities to the kids in Las Vegas.
Perfect. Thank you, Jess. So here's the thing about sports. So while you can have sports games, you can have sports skills and practice and things like that. So we are bringing back a lot of our sports programming, and we will just adjust it in a way that is safe and still follows what the governor has mandated that we can do. So be on the lookout for that. Kim's going to have everything that we come up with, and she's going to post all that. Last I want to talk about, so I'm now in the aquatics department, and so we are going to be offering swim lessons and swim team during the day. So on Monday, Wednesdays, we're going to have and I'll be putting out, and Kim will have it. It's going to be too much information right now, but basically alternating Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, there'll be a 2 p.m. lesson option and a 3 p.m. swim team, and then flip-flop it depending upon whether you do a Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday. So it's really great. So ideally, we figure that a lot of our homeschool community might want a 2 o'clock. And so there'll actually be a swim lesson option at 2 o'clock, like on Monday, Wednesday, and a 2 o'clock swim team on a Tuesday, Thursday, something to that effect. And then there'll also be a 3 o'clock option as well for each. And so we're excited about that because we feel like that will open up our swim team. It will allow some of that interaction with their friends and continue to keep that going. So they're there. So Tuesday, Thursday, I actually believe swim teams at 3 o'clock. So if you were to do your PE at 1 p.m., you could do open swim at 2 p.m. with friends, and then you can go into your swim team at 3. I don't know if anyone's going to do all that, but that's an option. And then or your PE class at 1 o'clock, and then swim lessons at 2 o'clock. There will be added fees for some of these extra things. The open swim is included in your homeschool PE price, but your added extra things like lessons or team, sports, photography, all those things will have just an extra added price to that. What else?
Will you guys have high school age?
Yes.
Programming?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's when we did a homeschool swim team last spring.
They got a lot of good. Yeah, we had a lot of people excited about that.
Yeah, it was starting out great, and it was growing, and we found we had more teens in that one than we did our summer rec. So now we're running a swim team this summer, and we have all ages. So it's 6 to 17. We have a good chunk of teenagers because we now have intermediate and advanced.
Okay. And what about the other programs? What outside of swim, do you have anything for teenagers?
Yeah.
Like I know there's because my kids are at CCSD, but they don't have any access to anything. You know what I mean? Like if my son's enrolled in PE, I don't know what I don't know what he's gonna do. So I'm trying to figure out, are there places where he can go and you know, do some type of activity for that older age, you know, like 15, 16, 17-year-old age.
So Meredith has a program. Go ahead.
I do a teen training program, and last year I did it during the same time as the Homeschool P.E, but for ages 13 to 17. And then we started it back up this summer. So right now we're doing it at 10 o'clock on Thursdays. And that's just to teach the teens how to build a workout plan, how to use all the different equipment here. And then we also do a workout every week too.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
The other thing that we're bringing soon, and it's gonna take me a month or two to develop, but I'm working with the city of Henderson and their club team water polo, and so we are going to be bringing water polo to the YMCA.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about that. I have a lot of meetings coming up, so stay tuned for that, and that's just going to be another recreational option for our kiddos to be able to participate in. And again, we're going to use our so we're closed between 11 and 4. We're gonna pack that time in with things, so options, especially between 1 and 4, for everybody to be able to get their kids, because I know my kids are CCSD, and they're going to be in front of the computer from 7 or 8 o'clock till 1 or 2. I mean, her kids till 3. And so they're going to be chomping at the bit to get out and do something. And so our goal is to be there for you guys and be able to offer as much as we can.
We have a question. How much is Homeschool P.E?
Is it the same? I don't know if you adjusted it.
I will have that. I will have that. And actually every Sunday I'm going to put out like my YMCA shout out. But otherwise I will have it all week, but I'll have it on Sunday on Facebook so you can know that, okay, if I have missed something, I'll catch it again on Sunday.
Yeah, I'll check into that, see if anything has changed. Our goal is to keep it super low priced and affordable. And I think registration, I heard was supposed to be out by 18th.
Yeah, 17th or 18th.
17th or 18th.
Yeah, and then classes will start on the 9th or the 8th of September, so right after Labor Day.
Excellent. Okay, wonderful. Well, we're really excited. I know a lot of people were looking for theater arts up in the Northwest area, and because there's just a demand for it. So that's great hearing that it'll be there as well.
Jess has some stuff she wanted to share.
Excellent, Jess.
Hi, I'll be really, really brief because this probably doesn't affect your guys' homeschool community as it does kids who are in public school, but we want to let you guys know that's an option. The YMCA will be offering a program that we're calling Y Cares. It's our answer to CCSD's distance learning model through the fall. So we will operate for 5 to 15-year-olds Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So the structure of the day will be from about 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. They will have academic choices that they can participate in. This is also when we do our character building program that we call Y-Ties. So we really work on character development in the mornings. From 9 to 3, we'll be moving into our school day. So we do have trained YMCA staff who will be assisting students through their schoolwork throughout the day. So we'll be coordinating Zoom schedules, helping make sure that they're getting all their classwork done and that they understand it. My understanding is that at some of the other branches, we have had some homeschool families utilizing our drop-in daily rate. So it's either $30 per day or $150 per week. And we have some homeschool families who are saying, you know, on Tuesdays, I really just want them to go to the Y all day. They can do their classwork there. So that is an option for you guys. And then moving into the afternoon, it's going to be more like a traditional after school program. So from 3 to 6, we will have some of the same enrichment things that Amanda's talking about will kind of lead into Y Cares as well. So we will be offering performing arts, STEM, art, extra literacy opportunities, potentially some extra arts opportunities and photography and voice lessons and things like that. So we're kind of moving away from our traditional summer camp program and into a more traditional school day where they're learning throughout the day and then completing academic enrichment in the afternoons. So we did want to let you guys know that that's an option and that everybody's welcome. You guys don't have to be a CCSD student to participate. So if it's something that's helpful within your schedule, we're here, we're available. We have financial assistance available up to 50% off. So please, if it's something that you're interested in, reach out to your local Y and they can help you guys through that process.
Excellent. Yeah, actually, our group has grown significantly, and it's a lot of distance learners here too. So it's not, we're not just homeschool anymore, apparently. You know, it's, yeah, we can go into that distinction.
Yeah, well, if you guys have any questions in the meantime, I'm getting ready to jump back into summer camp, but feel free to email me. My email is j_@lasvegasymca.org, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have, okay?
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Well, we were going to have True North Homeschool Academy on, and I don't know what happened with them, but, you know, Zoom, you never know. So maybe next week we will have them here. We've had a lot of questions about Homeschool Academy and accredited programs. So I will be posting about that hopefully today or tomorrow. And Miss Lori, did you want to give a little review of your book real quick at the end here?
Yeah, sure. So I hope, can you see that if I hold that just there, Kimberly?
Yes.
So the first bit of the book talks about the different scenarios for using it, because depending on how old the student is and what their needs are, there's a great big introduction about different usage. But onto the main part, the book is split into 4 sections. The first section is number, which deals with number-related math. The second section is fractions, decimals, and percentages. The third section is shape and geometry. And the fourth section is a self-contained unit on times tables. Because one of the biggest things that have held children back when I've been teaching them is the fact that they don't have a grip of their times tables. So there's a big focus in there. And the fifth section is called Flash Facts. And Flash Facts is a section which is quick fire questions and answers. So based on the skills in the book. So taking any page, the pages are all the same. Every single page, every lesson is only 1 page long. So if we just look at this one as an example, every page is double-sided, and on the front page there's a learning objective which tells you what you're learning. So here it says, I know the names of 5 different angles. Then there's a teaching section within a dotted line, which is the script for the parent. And in there, I've put the words that I use when I'm teaching my students that particular skill. So I've tried to put the words that I say into that script. At the bottom of the page, there are 8 questions to just try using this as like hold your hand reference. And then over the page, if the child thinks, okay, I think I'm all right with that now, there are then just 8 questions only to try. And the idea is that you cover these answers and reveal them to see if you've got them correct. And then at the beginning of all the units, there is something called an I can, I know checklist. And the I can, I know checklist is at the beginning of every unit. So here are all the learning objectives that are covered in Unit 1 number. And so the child has an ownership. If they feel that they've understood that particular concept, they mark on here that they've understood it. So it's almost like building the ownership side of it from the child's point of view, so that they're feeling, yes, I've understood that concept and that I'm better prepared for high school. And then if you look through, you'll see that in some of the pages, there is an exclamation mark, and that's called the high concentration alert, which is a heads up to the student and parent that this is probably a page that they're going to really have to focus on. So don't do that page if you're tired or hungry, or you just
I love that.
And the biggest deep breath feedback has been the 1 page only, because if you're in grade 7 and you feel as though you've got to figure out which bits are missing, it's just overbearing to have to go back and figure out which bits you missed from grade 4 and grade 5. So I don't tell anybody in the book what grade each of the concepts is from, so that if you're in grade 8 or you're even older than that, you might be 13, 14, the last thing you want to know is that you're actually working on a page that's a grade 4 concept. So I've had a lot of feedback from teenagers who are saying, it doesn't matter which grade it's from, I don't know it, just tell me the information, and then they feel empowered then, and the dignity side of it has been a big...
Well, and that's the thing, is you get up into the high school math and you do need those, skills, but it's assumed that you have them. And if you don't have them, you know, then you're really swimming upstream.
One of the nicest stories was from a lady who bought it for her twin grade 4 children, twin boys, and the 15-year-old older brother stole the book and took it to his bedroom and said, this is actually something that I need. And that was a heartwarming story, because children who are embarrassed and feel that they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing, it doesn't make for a good learning basis.
Well, and keeping it at one page is so important, because I know for my son, especially when he sees that he has 25 practice problems and 25 homework problems, he's like, I'd rather not do any of this. So
and you end up doing nothing.
Yeah, you're like, I'm never going to get through this. It's going to be a slog. And I, you know, because I'm a homeschool mom, I'm always kind of right there peeking over his shoulder, making sure he's doing what he's supposed to. And it's a fatigue factor. And a lot of the problems are repetitive. And so I just wonder what, you know, why is that we're having so much repetition? You know, you either understand it or you don't. And that's why I always tell them, I'm like, if you can demonstrate this to me in 2 or 3 problems, we're going to move on. We're not going to keep after it. So I don't understand that really, but I think it can be kind of harmful to kids that they get tired of doing that many problems. So I think that's smart for you to do it that way.
Thank you.
It's a lovely book, and I highly recommend it. And I will put the discount code in the newsletter, which comes out Friday. I also have some new freebies coming out in the newsletter. And just subscribe to Biggest Kids Zone. We have a lot of fun things happening, and I promise I won't inundate you with stuff, because honestly, I don't like to get a lot of stuff in my inbox. So, but I only send out stuff when it's really worthwhile and it's going to be helpful to our parents. Which is the whole point of doing these things.
Yeah, so and if you have anybody, I wanted to put the group out there, the group name out there, if anybody's looking for, you know, some super specific questions about homeschooling or even distance learning, Las Vegas Homeschooling Support Group is where you can come and ask questions. So.
Also, I'd like to offer any parent who has specific questions about math from K to 8, because I think having somebody to ask about your particular scenario, there's no such thing as a silly question. And because I've had the chance to work with these children, and because I've been working with some homeschooling groups, if anybody wants to connect, we can set up a complimentary chat video to talk about individual scenarios, if that would be helpful.
Thank you, Lori.
That's a teacher, yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you all, and I guess we'll see you next week when we'll have more information for our parents, and have a good one.
Okay. Bye. Thank you so much for organizing. Bye.
Thank you.